The Modi versus Rahul war has gone way beyond the hashtags, way beyond the Kalavati Jasuben comparison. It's a battle of brands. These are two probable prime ministerial candidates fighting it out through indirect debates, with the other not in sight but always on target. It's an all-out clash of personalities, of visions. Who's winning the image war? Is it the reluctant prince or the Hindutva poster boy? Headlines today spoke to some of the country's top communication experts. This is what they had to say.
मां का स्थान सबसे ऊपर.
So I've lost it now, 1 second.
They couldn't be more different. One, self-effacing.
And you guys are hard-nosed businessmen. I'm not such a hard-nosed politician, but I'm getting there.
The other, go-getting.
कई राज्य ऐसे हैं हिंदुस्तान में जहां बिजली आना एक खबर होती है. हमारे यहां बिजली जाना ये खबर होती है.
One is gifted with a sense of timing and occasion, a supremely confident orator in command of his delivery style.
शायद ये मेरा पहला प्रवचन ऐसा है. आप क्यों हंस रहे हैं?
Aware of his audience and how to win them.
और गुजरात जैसा राज्य जहां कांग्रेस के मित्र जो गड्ढे करके गए थे, उन गड्ढों को भरने में मेरा 10 साल गया है. और बंगाल में तो 32 साल से ऐसे गड्ढे हुए हैं.
They told me they have no boots.
The other, reticent, a little uncomfortable in the arc lights.
So I've lost it now, 1 second.
A fumble here.
Is what is driving everything. It is what is driving your businesses. Let me go back to the women for a bit.
A fumble there.
We talk about, I go to Jhansi, I see Rani ki Jhansi. She's a hero.
But both have their fans.
I think people are very impressed. अब आप बोलेंगे किस चीज से impressed? उनकी body language, उनकी openness.
It was absolutely inspiring. One rarely come across a speech like this. It's motivational, it's inspirational, and I think great message for the Indian industry.
They had invited Mr. Modi to speak, and he shared absolutely on the subject areas in which he has worked and his beliefs on the role of women. And there were some excellent examples of what he has achieved.
चपाती बनाते बनाते
The two approaches are unique, as different as chalk and cheese, but seem to work for them.
Empowerment by Modi is seen as, I will empower you. And Rahul Gandhi is saying, you are entitled to it. So I think one is giving, which is Narendra Modi, saying, I will give you lots of things. And Rahul Gandhi is saying, I will show you what to do.
Mr. Gandhi was very clear that he doesn't have the answers, but what he does know is that empowerment and inclusion have to be the key issues of development in India. Mr. Modi, on the other hand, is very clear about his agenda. It seems to be an exclusionist agenda in which all people are not equal, some are more equal than others.
The differences aren't just skin deep. Both Prime Minister hopeful substantially have a contending idea of India, setting up a prospect of tantalizing contests in the run-up to the 2014 elections.
Bureau Report, headlines today.
Brand Modi versus brand Rahul. Who's winning the imaging war? At the end of the day, it's all about communication, about reaching out to voters, convincing them about the power of your brand. Joining us on the center stage face-off four of India's foremost communication experts. On the Modi camp this evening, we've got Prahlad Kakkar and Kiran Kher to talk about the virtues of brand Rahul. We've got Alec Padamsee and Rajiv Desai, who's worked very closely with the Congress's communication strategy department in the past. And the first question that I'm asking is, on the basis of all that we've seen and heard so far, Modi or Rahul, who's winning the imaging war? And I want to get Prahlad Kakkar to answer this question first. Mr. Kakkar, who do you think is winning when it comes to the communication, the image war?
Well, it's definitely Mr. Modi, because he's all over the place. He makes a lot of sense what he speaks, and he's been very, very well briefed on the subjects that he speaks on. He's not ambivalent. He's not generalizing. He's very specific about whatever the forum or the format that he's actually speaking on. Other than that, Mr. Modi has managed in the last 5 years to polarize the opinion about himself. You know, you either hate him or you love him. And it's split right down the center. The problem with Rahul is that all the people who hate Modi do not love Rahul. But all the people who love Modi, regardless of what it is. So he has a definite hands-on, head-on advantage over everybody else.
Okay, you're saying that Modi is heads and shoulders above Rahul Gandhi. Rajiv Desai completely disagrees with that. The fact is, Modi seems to be reaching out more effectively and winning more and more voters with all the communication that he's made so far. Mr. Desai.
Rahul, if in fact this was a war between Mr. Modi and Mr. Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi would win it simply because he is more like India. He's more modernizing. He's young. He's searching for answers. He's looking at the future, not clearly defined, but nevertheless searching, as we saw in his speech at CII, which had been criticized by some, but nevertheless it was a young man or a youngish man trying to find some answers. So if it had been a war, I think Mr. Gandhi would win it, not by measure of who speaks better or who looks better or who articulates better, but because of the intrinsic brand values. That's number one. Number two, it's not a war because Mr. Gandhi has clearly said that he is not in politics to be the Prime Minister. And compare that with the grasping approach of Mr. Modi, who not only wants to be Prime Minister, but if he could help it, he would want to be ruler of the world.
You're saying that Rahul Gandhi comes across as a composed brand, Kiran Kher, in comparison with Narendra Modi, who comes across as very impatient. Why do you think Modi is winning the imaging war so far?
Frankly, Rahul, I'm surprised you're even doing a show comparing Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi. Anybody with an iota of sense can see that there is no comparison between the two. I mean, yes, of course, Mr. Rahul Gandhi is a youngish man, but he's a youngish man who's been working at the Sangathan level of his party, as he says, for many, many years. And by now, I think he should have been an accomplished speaker. He should have been, which Mr. Modi is, and he is not. Whether he's running for Prime Minister or not, which in itself, to me, is a strange way of having power without any accountability at all, which is something that the Congress leadership is honing to perfection these days. And Mr. Modi's communication skills come from the fact that he knows his subject. He's hands-on with administration, with everything. If Mr. Desai says that Rahul Gandhi is searching for questions, he should not be addressing the captains of the Indian industry at all. He should be at home searching for those answers. The youth want a leader who has answers, not somebody who's searching for answers. And whether he is running for Prime Minister or not, he's definitely leading the Congress party, which makes all the decisions and the policies of the UPA government. Mr. Modi, on the other hand, is hardly grasping the whole country, and many people who are in the BJP, the entire cadre, want Mr. Modi there. That is why he's there. He's delivered. That's why he's there.
Okay, you're saying that Rahul is confused, his messaging is confused, and therefore there is no comparison. He's winning the image war, hands down. Yeah. Mr. Alec Padamsee.
Yeah, I'd like to say several things. The first one is, yes, I agree that Modi is doing a very good campaign. I don't know who's behind it, but it's very professionally done. He's reaching out to everyone. He's reaching out to women. He's reaching out to young people. He's using the media extremely well. But please remember, all of us who know what a good campaign is, a good campaign selling a bad product will immediately be found out. And the problem about Modi is, everyone says he's a good administrator. If he's such a good administrator, how come during the Gujarat riots in 2002, he was unable to stop the riots for weeks and weeks? Thousands of people were killed. And the only example I can give you, Jyoti Basu, who was known as a lousy administrator, brought the riots to a close within 2 days just by calling out the army. The other thing I'd like to say is that does Modi want to be Prime Minister of only the majority community in this country or the entire community in this country? We are one India. What is happening is a bad product divides, a good product brings together. Rahul Gandhi, whatever else, and of course the Gandhi name carries a lot of brand value, but the most important brand value, I think, from Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Rajiv Gandhi and now even to Rahul Gandhi, is that they believe in the constitution, which is secular.
Okay.
A constitution that says all Indians are
I want to answer that.
Kiran Kher
And
wants
I
to
can't
respond to
really
you.
say that
Alec
about the
Padamsee
speeches
is
that
saying
Modi's
Narendra Modi is a
I want to
divisive
respond
brand.
to Mr. Padamsee.
He's not a unifying brand, and that's the intrinsic problem with brand Modi.
I want to tell Mr. Padamsee that as a professional in the advertising community, he should know that if the brand does not have intrinsic value and if the product is not good, no branding will work, which is precisely what's happening with Rahul Gandhi and the so-called Aam Aadmi, Congress ka haath Aam Aadmi ke saath, because they have ruined the lives of the Aam Aadmi in this country and it's become a mockery. When he talks about 2002, I would like to say to him, firstly, I don't think 2002 should be brought into this at all. But because he brings it into it, I would like to say that it was in one. Hang on, Alec, let me answer you. You have your say.
It's a defective product.
Let me answer you. Listen to it. Listen to it. Defective is not him. Defective is you, who's reacting on perceptions, not on reality. So let me answer you now. In 2002, in 1.5 days, the army was out. Hang on a minute, Alec, please. Let me speak. In 2002, the army was called out in 1.5 days. Not so in 1984, when for 4 days Delhi burnt. Do you ask your beloved Mr. Rajiv Gandhi,
Rahul,
his children and his wife, on whose watch this happened, why the army was not called out? Why congressmen led mobs killing Sikhs? Is it only because the Muslim vote is 18% and it suits you to keep it alive and the Sikh vote is only 2%? Shame on this country.
Rajiv Desai wants to come in as well.
Mr. Modi has given tickets to so many Muslims recently. They've all won and come. The Muslims have voted for him in Gujarat. Get your facts right before you speak.
Kiran, have you been to Ahmedabad recently? Do you, Rahul, let me speak.
Yes, Mr. Padamsee.
Kiran, have you been to Ahmedabad recently? The majority of Muslims are scared to cross the Sabarmati River after 8 p.m. at night because they are very unwelcome in the richer, more prosperous Hindu part of Ahmedabad. And that's a fact. You can go for yourself and find out.
Mr. Rajiv Desai wants to make a point.
Is that the kind of country we want?
I have myself campaigned in Naroda.
You know, Rahul.
I have myself campaigned there recently. No such thing is true.
Mr.
It
Desai.
seems typical. It
Come
seems
with me then,
typical
Kiran.
of those who support Modi to be aggressive, table thumping, and make their point of view regardless. They don't give a chance for others to listen, and this is the kind of brand value that Modi stands for. I don't think he's got a chance in hell.
Okay.
I mean, you can yell and scream as much as you want, but the facts remain. What Alec Padamsee is saying is right. I heard a story just last week in Ahmedabad where a poor Muslim butcher was chased by a bunch of goons from the Bajrang Dal because he was carrying beef. He disappeared into Sarkej, which is a Muslim community, and those guys had to pull back because they dare not venture into Sarkej. So this is the kind of Berlin Wall that's been built all around Ahmedabad. It's my hometown. I know the place. I live there, and that's okay. That's the other part of it. But this brand Modi business is so completely un-Gujarati, I tell you, because let's look at this. The first principle of a Gujarati living his life and doing his business is minimize debt at all cost. And what do we have for Mr. Modi? 45,000 crore debt of the state in 2001, 140,000 crore debt in 2012. What are we talking about? This is the kind of Spanish model of, you drive on the road to Gandhinagar, you look at the developments, you see the amount of empty buildings and unfinished buildings. Gujarat is drowning in private debt, not public debt, private debt. And here he wants to run away and become the prime minister so he can burden the Gujaratis with 34 crores a day interest. And what are we talking about? Be real. God. Don't yell and don't scream on all of this.
We're talking about
argue issue by issue.
Okay,
what,
yes.
What about
I mean that we argue issue by issue, question by question. Let Kiran respond to this before I come to question to Kiran.
No, 1 minute, Rahul. Rahul, please, can I scream back at Mr. Desai? Let Mr. Desai also receive some screaming.
They've not been allowed to cross the line.
Kiran. No, this is a canard. This is a canard you're spreading.
Here. Mr. Modi is
a
wonderful man, I'm sure.
What has the UPA government done in the
but
center?
His record says something different, and no amount of yelling and screaming will make that different.
Kiran.
Wait, because we yell and scream because you say unfair, untrue things. That is why a person is provoked to yell and scream.
No, I did not say
Only
anything
unfair.
I did not say anything untrue.
Lies.
When Mr. Padamsi said, when Mr. Padamsi said something about Ahmedabad,
1 minute,
you rubbished
Mr.
it.
Desai,
You said
can
it was
I answer
rubbish.
you?
And you haven't even been there. I mean,
yes,
really, seriously.
It is rubbish.
Get a
and
grip
you
on
talked
it.
About,
put
you
the lens
gave an
on.
Example,
Be serious about things.
You,
Don't just go
hang
off
on, Mr.
yelling
Desai.
and screaming and shouting and
hang on, Mr. Desai.
This is the way. This
1
is
minute,
the way
Mr.
of propaganda. This is the way of Goebbels. This is the way of Hitler. How can you yell and scream like this?
You are spreading propaganda.
Just because we
Mr.
disagree
Desai,
with you,
you are spreading
just because we
insidious
disagree
propaganda.
with your assessment of a person whose record has shown,
no, because you're
whose record
lies.
has shown very,
I
very
have not
clearly
spread any lies
that
about Mr. Gandhi or Mrs. Gandhi.
He is an adversity on Gujarat, and you sit here and tell me that he's some sort of a messiah. I mean, please,
Rahul, can I speak?
Yes,
Mr.
Yes,
for a minute.
We're not playing these games of propaganda.
One by one, please.
I'm
a little surprised with the manner in which this debate is shaping up. I thought we had communicators, branding experts, politicians. This is turning into a political debate. Kiran, you must respond. I also want to push this debate further. Kiran,
but it always does, doesn't it? The minute you have somebody like Desai on it. Let me answer
Yes,
him,
Kiran,
please.
quickly, please.
I want to say one thing. Rahul, Mr. Desai talks about spreading canards, which he is doing. He talks about a butcher. He says, a story I heard. It is hearsay. He talks about Bajrang Dal, which has been banned from Gujarat. Praveen Tugaria is not allowed to enter Gujarat.
We can't get derailed over here. This is about branding. This is about communication. Please allow me to ask question number 2. Who connects with Gen Next better? I want to ask that question first to Prahlad Kakkar. Who's communicating and reaching out to Gen Next better? Mr. Kakkar first.
Rahul, first I want to go back a bit, and I want to turn around and tell you very clearly that on the answer that I gave about polarization of opinions, I think Mr. Modi has actually scored a lot more brownie points than Rahul was, because he's been much more precise. He's addressed issues and questions of ladies, he's addressed issues and questions of industry, and if you look at these two segments by themselves, I mean, there are a lot of ladies who will probably prefer Rahul because he's better looking. But immediately after that, when you talk about substance, there's very little substance in what he's actually promoting or saying. He's also stuck with a party which has no credibility anymore in this country. Rahul Gandhi coming on as the head of the Congress is a hell of a big liability, because Rahul Gandhi himself might be a decent fellow. What's he going to do with the rest of his party?
Mr. Padamsi, this is one of the big challenges for Rahul Gandhi. He's much younger than Modi, yet youngsters think that Modi is the youth icon. Rahul, despite his age advantage of 20 years, doesn't come across to young India as a youth icon.
No, I think he is a youth icon. I just think he's very badly managed. I will say that Modi has some excellent professionals managing his campaign, and I say hats off. It's good to have professionals. Of course, Rahul needs to get his act together, but I'm reminded of his father, Rajiv Gandhi, who also came to power when he was, really not administrator of any kind. But in the first 2 years, before he got dragged into Congress politics, he did a very good job. And I have a feeling that sometimes the office, when you're promoted into the office, like Indira Gandhi, was just a wallflower in Nehru's cabinet. But once she became the Prime Minister, my God, she was anything but a wallflower.
Mr. Kakar.
Rahul, despite what anybody says, if you use a small dipstick today, the youth are completely befuddled by what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has said. Because he's not promised them a better future at all. As a matter of fact, the reason why they're plonking for Mr. Modi, despite his warts and despite his obvious flaws, is because he has given them a vision, which is his vision of what he did with Gujarat to do with the rest of the country. And they buy into that absolutely, because the youth today don't care a rat about the nation or about patriotism. They care about what's in it for them. And they realize that if the nation goes down the tube, then they go down the tube with it and their entire lives with it. And they can't afford to make a mistake right now. And right now, they're not going to give anybody a chance who they think is going to not deliver.
When Rahul speaks,
and I don't
he has
think
the
Rahul Gandhi
ability
stuck with the Congress party
of
is
communicating.
capable of delivering.
Rahul has the ability of reaching out to young India because he's part of young India. He speaks their language, he speaks their lingo. He says, okay, boss, the manner in which
No,
he
he
speaks.
doesn't.
No, I'm asking you this question. He's able to reach out. He's part of them. He's part of young India. So do you not think that gives him an advantage over Modi?
Mr. Rahul Gandhi appears to be a very reluctant, shy, introvertish, not very well informed young man. He might be well meaning, he might be a nice guy, but just because he says boss doesn't mean he's communicating. In fact, it was a very inappropriate thing to say at the Captains of Industry speech, and he's forgot what he was saying. He was reading from the papers. He hardly attends parliament. He's never there when there's some very strong bill to be passed or to talk about so many of the things that affect the nation and affect the youth of this country. So I think it's a very naive way he has of looking at things. In fact, I feel really sometimes sorry for him. I feel he's being pushed into this rather than it doesn't come naturally to him. And he hasn't worked on it at all. So I don't think so. I think even though he might be 40 something and Mr. Modi 62, I do not think that there is much of a difference. In fact, Modi is far more vibrant. He's younger. He's reaching out. He's trying new ideas. He's completely thinking out of the box in his state. He's innovative. So that makes him much more of a youth icon.
Rahul, I just want to say, again, repeat, a leader very often might be showing off, and I think Mr. Modi is doing a brilliant job of showing off, that he's done this for Gujarat and he's done that for Gujarat. Many of the things it appears are not quite true, but the worst thing is he will not talk about in India, secularism is part of our constitution. That's one of his biggest flaws and it will bring him down eventually. Secondly, I want to say again that Indira Gandhi was nothing but a wallflower till she became Prime Minister. And I have a feeling, it may be wrong, but I have a strong feeling that the Gandhi tradition means they serve the country. You can say whatever you like about them, but they have served the country from Nehruji to Indira ji to Rajiv and will be Rahul. And therefore, I think the country will solidify behind him.
Okay.
But I agree now.
I now come to part 3
is much
of the
better
center
than
stage
Rahul.
face-off.
And Rahul better wake up and get some professionals to handle his campaign.
Okay.
That I agree.
My question
Let me
is
just say one thing,
Narendra
Rahul.
Modi a hands-down better speaker than Rahul Gandhi? As a communicator, is he way better when it comes to speaking in public than Rahul Gandhi? And I'll ask Rajiv Desai that question first. Mr. Desai.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you call a better speaker, whether you'd call the style or the substance. From everything I've seen of Mr. Modi's speeches, of course they're powerful. Nobody denies that. He speaks in Hindi quite well, Gujarati equally well and better. But the message that he has to convey is mostly a message of insult, mostly a message of exclusion, mostly a message of victimhood, mostly a message of vindictiveness. And I mean, it riles up the crowd. Like we saw what happened with Mr. Pawar in Maharashtra. It gets the crowd all worked up, and so did Hitler. I mean, he got the crowds worked up. So did Mussolini and Franco. So, but what is the message? This is my question. That why in the 21st century must there be a message of exclusion? Why must there in the 21st century be a message of disempowerment?
Okay, Kiran Kher.
Why should
Who's
this
the
be
better
the,
speaker?
why
Not
should
right,
this be the
like I told
platform
you
on which you
before,
fight political
Rahul.
battles?
Yes, Kiran Kher.
Rahul, because they cannot combat the talent and meritocracy of Mr. Modi, this is a concerted effort by the Congress camp to try and say that he's not secular, he's this, he's that, he's a divisive force. That's not true.
Secular.
You people
But
carry
he is
all
not
his
secular.
speeches live. 1 second. They
He's
all
not secular.
1 minute. He is secular. That is, he has given tickets
No,
to
he's not.
350 people at Panchayat level, all Muslims.
Knowing the communication, what he's saying, or the underlying of what he's saying, he's never come out and said, yes, I believe in secularism. The best he's done is, I believe secularism is India. Hello? Secularism is all the minorities, whether they're tribals, whether they're Muslims, whether they're Hindus, whether they're Christians, whether they're Sikhs, whether they're Parsis, whatever they are. That is India. That is the whole beauty of India. And
Okay,
the
Mr. Prahlad Kakkar,
India.
who's the better
about
speaker?
Vibrant Gujarat.
Yes.
He's only talking about a vibrant Gujarat in very limited terms. I would like to ask Prahlad Kakkar, what do you think about Modi's secularism, Prahlad?
Alec, remember one thing. When the country goes down the tube,
just
everybody goes down with it.
give
It
me a
doesn't
straight
matter whether
answer.
you're Hindu, Muslim or Sikh. And if the youth of this country, whether they're Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Muslim or whatever, they actually believe that the only guy who can pull this country out of the kind of muck that it's in right now is Modi. Because if the country does well, everybody does well with them. And nobody is excluded. And you cannot exclude anybody. It's, the whole business of trickle down, which hasn't worked for the Congress, will actually work once we get the economy back on shape, once we get everybody sort of enthusiastic about working for the country. You'll find everybody pitching in. What works for him is the fact that he has always delivered. And he does not need to thump the table to do that. The fact is that all he has to do is invite people to Gujarat and say, okay, you guys be my guests, come and see Gujarat. I'm not going to escort you. You can go where you want. You can ask anybody what you want.
Mr. Padamsee,
and if you have any questions,
is there a fear that Modi could
the
peak
people
too soon?
will answer those questions.
That the optimism that he's building around his campaign could fritter away in the several months that are still to go before the elections? Mr. Padamsee.
Yeah, I would say, now I'm talking purely, I'm not talking about whether I believe in Modi or not. I'm talking now as a professional communications man who's been in the business probably longer than anyone else in this country. And I would say he's peaking too early. He's peaking, he's coming to a climax, he's coming to the top too early. We've still got another perhaps a year to go for the elections. What is he going to do after he said everything, and he seems to be saying everything? But he started his campaign far too early. I think he was worried that the BJP might be looking for someone else, and that's why I better start early. But whatever he's done, I would say purely as a communication man, it's a bad strategy to start too early. Mitt Romney did that. He started too early and he crashed. So what happens is everyone gets excited, and then there's still time, then you repeat yourself, and then suddenly your popularity, unfortunately, goes down due to no fault of your own.
Modi versus Rahul, who's winning the image war? It's a deeply divisive issue. You've heard from 4 top experts with strong opinion on either side. We leave it to you to decide whose opinion you agree with the most. For the time being, Kiran Kher, Prahlad Kakkar, Alec Padamsee and Rajiv Desai for joining us on the center stage face-off this evening. Thank you very much.